Bonjour, and welcome back to the Root and Rise podcast. I'm your host, Brienne, and I am here with a very important replay episode. Today, we are going to talk about taking a digital detox, or taking a break from social media and our phones to rest, reset, and come back to use it more mindfully. But this is a replay coming to you with some bonus content at the end. A guided journaling session to help you throughout this entire digital detox. I know this is a more popular episode of mine from July of 2023, which is part of the reason why we're revisiting it today. It also went hand in hand with my last episode, my interview with Cynthia Noy on the importance of rest, taking a break from social media and your phone. If you haven't listened to that yet, I highly suggest checking it out after this episode. It's also right around the time of the holidays in the US. A time where so many of us feel burnt out, stressed, and maybe even a little depressed. All things that social media and phones can intensify, which is another reason why I feel it's so important to revisit this topic today. So even if you've already listened to this episode, I highly suggest giving it another listen for the important and insightful reminders to come. It's my goal to get you going from FOMO to JOMO. Or, for anyone not watching on YouTube or Spotify and seeing the meanings on the screen right now, I want to get you from the fear of missing out, FOMO, to seeing the joy of missing out, JOMO, on occasion. We are going to disconnect to reconnect back to ourselves. And we can always turn our phones and laptops back on once we have. Trust me on this one. Taking a digital detox and using social media more mindfully can have a huge and positive impact on your mental health. I've been practicing everything in this episode for over 1.5 years now, well before it ever aired. And I can confirm that these practices have still had a positive and profound impact on my mental health, my journey to growth, and my productivity. I'm much more present, pleasant, and just all around happier, having disconnected and reconnected back to social media and my phone more mindfully. So without further ado, let's dive right into the replay. Hello. I'm coming back from a 6 or more month break from social media. I'm not really sure how long it's been. I kind of started again, quit again, and then honestly lost track of time. But I am back to tell you everything that I gained from that break and how you can apply that moving forward to use social media more intentionally with healthier boundaries and more self-awareness. We love a self-aware girly. Even if you don't want to take a break from social media, this episode can still help you be more mindful of its impact on you, your mental health, and your life, which means you can be more intentional with how you use it moving forward. I want to have a healthy relationship with social media, and I want you to have that too. We love healthy relationships, and as with any healthy relationship, it's important to have boundaries, self-awareness, and space for reflection. I can't imagine that I need to spend much time talking about all of the ways that social media can damage us. I think we are all pretty aware of them, but I do think it's important to at least acknowledge the impact that it has on us. That way we know what boundaries we need to have or create while we're scrolling through our phones. There have been numerous studies ran about increased anxiety and depression with increased social media usage. This makes sense when you think about the natural comparison that occurs when you're looking at the happy, carefully selected highlight reels of other people's lives online, or how depressing it is when you end a session of doom scrolling and then realizing just how much time you've lost down that TikTok rabbit hole, or the triggers, because the internet is full of them. Especially if you have lots of different flavors of trauma like I do, you are going to end up running and bumping into a few things on the internet that are going to make you uncomfortable. It's also important to address using social media in unhealthy ways for dissociation or escapism that comes with trying to distract yourself from all of life's worries. A lot of us have our own versions of escapism. Think about reading, playing games, or watching movies. And a lot of us use social media in this way too. Finding ways to distract yourself from life and all of its challenges isn't necessarily a harmful thing to do, but maybe we could find other positive ways to do that, or at least continue using social media more intentionally to feed that need without impacting any other areas of our lives. And the last two could and probably should have their own episode on it in the future. It's bullying and safety online, but that is way too much for me to dive in on this episode. I guess let me know if that's something you're interested in, and I can try to find somebody fun to interview about that. Another important thing to note is that social media can be addicting as well. It is literally designed to keep you engaged and scrolling on the app as long as possible. They will continue to update and design their apps with that goal in mind. I will say I do appreciate some of the apps starting to give you reminders that you've been using too much screen time and that maybe you should put your phone down and take a break. Some even cut off access after a certain allowed amount of time using it. Those are healthy boundaries to enforce in your life. Okay, so we get why we want to take a break from social media. I want to focus on the benefits of it because, not to be dramatic or anything, but it was kind of life-changing for me. And don't get me wrong, I'm not going to pretend it was easy to log off. There were certainly times that I struggled with feeling lonely or bored or a huge sense of FOMO. Just about as much as I have about not being at the Eras Tour right now. If you are considering taking a break from social media, I have journal prompts that intentionally guide you through the entire experience from the beginning, before, during, and afterwards, even leading you into returning to the online world. They are designed to help you create new positive habits and gain awareness of your relationship with social media on a deeper level. They are available for free on my website. The link will be down below in the description. Now, back to those benefits. The first really notable one for me was no noise from the outside world. I had time to explore my own thoughts and form my own opinions, and had more control over what and who entered my little bubble. The next was connection with others. I spent less time catching up on my newsfeed and more time catching up with people IRL. And then also connection with myself. Like I said, I had more time to explore my thoughts and feelings and interests, which can also lead to deeper healing. Creating more space and dedicating more energy to your healing journey can allow you to heal more deeply and purposefully. I surprisingly gained more patience. I was willing to just sit in boredom and not spend my time scrolling. I don't think I really even knew that was something I was struggling with until I did this experience. So that was kind of cool to figure out, which leads to my next point of being more reflective. And again, this is kind of because I allowed my mind to wander instead of just packing it full of content. And kind of going along with that trend, the next one is increased self-awareness, coming back and realizing how different things impact me and taking the time to really unpack it and understand the root of it. And the last is the ability to come back changed and more intentional. There's space for growth. So for those of you who aren't actually planning to take a break, no judgment. You can still learn from my experiences and apply the lessons that I've learned with your relationship with social media moving forward. Here is how I'm coming back to social media in a much more intentional way. It begins before I even open a social media app. That starts with healthier boundaries with social media. Before this break with social media, I was trying really hard to have healthy boundaries with it. I was having screen-free times where I would intentionally set down my phone, put it on Do Not Disturb, and I would just be present and completely disconnected. I think what I've come to learn is that for me, it's more important to actually have planned screen time, because if you think about it, if you just have, an hour or two of time throughout the day that you're saying you're not going to be using your phone, how many more hours of the day are you allowing yourself to just gravitate towards that and start scrolling and filling your time with whatever it is you're filling your time with? And that's okay to some degree, but I think that for me, I've just learned allowing myself certain chunks of time where I will get on. I'm not finding that pull to start scrolling and logging on. Another thing that I think is really important is having spaces that are kind of more technology free, like my children's playroom, for instance, or my bed. I'm not the greatest about that one, but it's a good concept in theory. And I do try to be a little bit more mindful of my usage before bed. I actually have an entire episode on that if you are interested in hearing more sleep tips. The next is being more intentional about everything with social media. First is how I use it. I'm starting to filter what I see, being really intentional about who I follow and what I allow into my space. I start to question, while I'm scrolling, does this feel good? Does it make me feel bad? How do I feel after scrolling? What images are lingering with me throughout the day, good or bad? And how do those make me feel? Are they empowering, or am I finding myself comparing and being a little bit harsh with myself? I also intentionally avoid using any sort of image altering filters, unless it's to show how wild they are. Just a friendly reminder that not everything you see on social media is actually real. Every once in a while, I will accidentally have one turn on when I'm trying to make a TikTok or Snapchat, and I forget how much better I look when I do have a filter that is smoothing out my skin and giving me an artificial glow and applying expert level makeup techniques that very subtly actually change your entire bone structure completely. It makes it hard to go back to looking at myself without the filter when that is how I've looked all along. And 5 minutes before, when I didn't have the filter on, I was feeling pretty okay about myself. But now I feel like trash because I have seen this filter and I don't look like that, and I probably never will. Anyways, I digress. I'm also being more intentional about why I'm using it, practicing more self-awareness about why I'm seeking it out, why I'm using it, and any potential emotions that I might be trying to avoid by using it. Do you feel called out yet? I promise it's just a little tough love. I don't know. And being intentional about when I use it, like I said, not starting the day with it, scrolling social media, turning off notifications so I don't check it throughout the day. That's actually been a really helpful thing for me. I didn't realize how much just seeing that somebody had commented back on Facebook or sent me a message made me jump and feel like I needed to reply to it, needed to check it. But in all reality, I don't. And you don't have to either. If somebody really needs to get in contact with you, they will call you. You can replace some of your decreased social media time with new habits. This is something I talk a lot about in my digital planner. I also have a free habit tracker available that I will link below as well if you're interested in starting some new habits. And the last thing I think I want to note is media literacy. I think with the heavily filtered, edited, and altered reality online, I mean, people can literally script, craft, fabricate, edit any life that they want to have on social media. It's easy to get caught up in believing everything that you see. But don't forget that there is so much more beneath the surface. Not many people are posting their struggles and challenges. And for those of you who are, cheers to you, Queen. I have a tendency to isolate myself when I'm healing and growing, sometimes to a point where it becomes unhealthy, and I really should be reaching out for connection and support. So I feel really compelled to tell you that this isn't what I'm talking about when taking a break from social media. Don't shut the entire world out, just the parts that don't serve you. Just be more intentional about it. I mean, it's not realistic for me to think that I can be completely free of social media, not with the advocacy work that I do, the marketing for this podcast, and even just the community that I get to connect with through social media. I don't want to be free of it. I love the connections that I make, and I love that I get to connect with you regardless of the distance between us. There are a lot of beautiful things about social media. I think that if we can begin to create healthy boundaries, be more intentional about our usage with it, and more self-aware of ourselves while we use it, we can have a much healthier relationship with it. I want to send you off with a positive affirmation that really helped me during my social media break. And it is, I am rooted in this present moment. That's all. Sometimes we're just not present enough. We are busy on our phones and busy with the distractions of life. So just take a moment today and repeat to yourself, I am rooted in this present moment. I'm really happy to be back, and if you don't follow me on social media already, you can go find me pretty much anywhere at Root and Rise Podcast. The next part of this episode is going to be a guided journaling session to help you through your digital detox. You'll notice that we have some prompts for before your break, during your break, and after your break from social media. Please save this video and revisit it as you are working through your digital detox. These all will be linked in the episode description for you as well. And now for the guided journal prompts for your digital detox. Journal prompts for before your break. Why do you want to take a break from social media? What do you hope to gain from a break? How do you want to use the time you will gain from not scrolling? How long will your break be? What positive habit will you try to turn to whenever you naturally want to scroll? What will you gain from that positive habit? Are there any activities or hobbies you'd like to lean into more or learn during your break? How do these activities make you feel? Awareness of the benefit to you is going to be key here. Think about how you want to feel, the habits you'll have formed, and the new perspective you'll be returning to social media with. Visualize what this looks like and what it feels like. How can you find meaningful ways to connect with others? One of the benefits of social media. Journal prompts for during your break. How are you feeling being away from social media? Is it harder than you expected? Are there any unexpected emotions that have come up for you? What challenges are you facing? What are you doing instead of scrolling? How has your daily routine changed since leaving social media? Reflect on how you're using your time during this break. Has your perspective on social media changed now that you've had some time away? How does it feel to be disconnected? Are you experiencing any FOMO or fear of missing out? How are you coping with those feelings? Have your sleep habits changed after removing social media from your routine? Journal prompts for after your break. Has your perspective on social media changed now that you've had some time away? What kind of influence does social media have on your mental health, productivity, or just life in general? How does social media impact your view of yourself or the way you speak to yourself? How did it feel to be disconnected? What did you learn about yourself in this experience? What positive changes have you seen in your mental health, life, or relationships as a result of taking a break from social media? What other benefits did you experience as a result of this break? How will you use social media differently now that you've taken a break and intentionally unpacked your relationship with it? What do you need to be mindful of in the future to have a healthy relationship with social media moving forward? Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Root and Rise podcast. I hope you found this replay insightful and all of my journal prompts incredibly helpful. Before you take your break on social media, go over and find me at Root and Rise Podcast. And make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any new episodes. I wish you the best of luck with this break, and I'll see you in the next episode.